Well, by special request, I'm at least going to start the service in this. And I was all ready with a story for this morning, but then I heard something in a conversation. I decided to switch. So the little boy went to the circus and he saw the stuff going on. And he was so excited by the animals that after the animal show, he went to look at the cages and visit with the animals. And he saw that there was this guy standing there just shoveling animal droppings. He just went and went and went. Little boy looked at the guy and said, "Hey, you do nothing but shovel animal droppings all day long?" The guy said, "Yep, that's me, that's what I do." The boy said, "But couldn't you go somewhere and do something else? Isn't there some other job you could do?" And the guy with the shovel said, "What? And give up show business?" Yeah, Peter was talking about, we were talking about show business. I thought, oh, that's right, show business. Welcome to this place which we make holy by our presence. These doors are open to all. We welcome diverse ideas of the source of life, diverse needs, and diverse abilities. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, where the human is celebrated, where compassion is strength. Welcome to this place. Together, we make it a holy place. Please join me for the words of the chalice lighting. I would say they're printed in the leaflet, but it's possible that I'm the only person here who actually still does. Look at this thing. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom.
everybody here knows the drill, so I'm not going to bore you with the details again, but I'm going to ask you to take a moment to collect your thoughts and then have the chance to share any particular personal highs or lows that you would like for everybody else to know about. So let's take that moment. Some people have asked me, what are they really supposed to do during that period of time? I say, I don't know, scratch yourself or whatever. If anybody has decided on something they want to share with us, now's the time, and you're free to take a candle and light it and put it in the baptismal font.
Thank you. I have a joy and a sorrow. The joy was last time we had a wonderful time with the picnic, and I must say, even though I was harassed because people said that I had to go to the doctor after I had sciatica for the last 5 months. So I did, and I feel better, not well, but better, not as much pain, but at least it satisfies my friends who were the critics. I finally got there. The other news is actually sad. It's a student of mine passed away. He was amazing. I think he graduated in 75. He died at 69 years old. And his name was Frank Colosi. He told me before he left school that he wanted to be the city manager, which I thought was an excellent idea, or he wanted to be a lawyer. He actually studied for all of those things. And the part that was really thrilling was he came back to see me at a different school, and he gave me a copy of a Supreme Court decision that he was able to secure. He was a brilliant man.
Anything else that somebody has decided they'd like to share?
I would like to light a candle of for gratitude. A good friend of Gary's, Mary, is now involved in our family, and she has they had worked together. She was a school psychologist and then went on to be head of special education in North Tonawanda, and then worked in a private business helping autistic youth to adjust to and try to help them survive and thrive in college. And she has taken on working with Al, and she has had a meeting with him and well, with Al and I, and then she met with his sister and her fiance, who are key people in his life, and she's going to continue to work with the family to help Elle, who has severe attention problems, and develop the executive functioning that he needs to survive and be successful in life. And I am most grateful to Mary, and what a blessing that she is in our lives right now and is willing to do this. So I very much appreciate her. This is a candle in to signify my gratitude to her.
Anyone else? I'll light that last candle for unspoken joys or sorrows.
Well, when last I was here, I shared a story from my life from about 20 years ago when my college sweetheart and I were living in Milwaukee. And so I thought for today I would share another story from that period. Like the other one, this one kind of has no beginning and no end. I spent the first 7 years of my childhood in a crumbling ghetto underlooking the New Jersey Turnpike, which constantly drizzled lit cigarettes and little glass bottles and vials to shatter on the sidewalk in front of our house. It was a scary place, populated with crack zombies, siren street walkers, and huntsmen who turned into wolves by moonlight. The trailer park where we briefly lived in Allegheny, New York, was like a county fairground ghost town, a pit of dingy desperation. And no one's ever recovered from that, except for my hand, which is still miraculously mine after a firecracker went off in it. I have been to some scary places, but Las Vegas, that place was terrifying. Just show of hands, who here has ever been to Las Vegas? All right. Las Vegas was terrifying, a whole nest of vampires. And lacking silver bullets, I brought as a talismanic protection a single nickel and a single dime, and I vowed that come hell or high water, these would accompany me home. And this rendered me invisible to the Vegas vampires. So I got to observe as they stalked their prey. It was so horrifying that after getting back, I didn't watch another vampire movie for 20 years. We were there because Crystal's younger sister was getting married, and their dream was to be wed by an Elvis impersonator in Las Vegas. The reality imposed by the financiers, her parents, was a Vegas wedding chapel, a ministerial officiant for the service, with a rental Elvis on standby to pose with guests afterward as if he had conducted the wedding. The compromise was a mature development for all involved, and Crystal and I supported it as a stepping stone. Now, I should say, as a late wedding gift, I present total silence to this couple. idiotic observations, old, new, borrowed, and blue, are all going to go into a little box tied with a ribbon. The 20th anniversary is approaching, and I have not the slightest idea whether the marriage or either partner is still alive or extinct. About once every 18 months, I develop this 5-minute fixation on the question of how Crystal's little sister is doing. Because for 6 years, she was like a little sister to me. And I still have this phantom limb of residual sibling concern. But the 5 minutes I spend fly fishing online never catches anything useful. I guess it's that time again because just the other day I wasted half an hour ice fishing on the internet and caught nothing but a shoe, a bizarre circumstantial theory involving forged documents and reconstructive surgery, a wild fishtail that would make QAnon anti-vaxxers laugh their faces off. I won't share any of that here. One of these years, I just need to call Crystal's cousin Ted and ask how the relatives are doing. As an amateur anthropologist, I found Crystal's millionaire relatives so incredibly fascinating, and they graciously ignored me so that I could conduct my field studies. I was especially fascinated by Crystal's cousin Ted, who taught me what's more tragic than Fitzgerald's Gatsby. That would be a Jay Gatsby who actually came from real money. I miss Ted because I really liked him. For many years, I had to watch the Oceans 11, 12, 13 movie trilogy every mid-May. And I've recently added a couple other Vegas comedies. There's something about motion picture footage of Las Vegas that I need to see once a year. I can't explain it. It's a bit like an annual penitential pilgrimage. Never any of the depressing Vegas films. I need a lot of comic camaraderie to sugar that pill of seeing the city again. We did things when we got there, Las Vegas things. Crystal won $20. Winning 20 cost 80. But as a form of entertainment, it was still cheaper than Broadway. We got on a roller coaster, apparently fun. It snapped the happiest picture of Crystal and I. Maybe I should have paid for the printout, but I can still see it clearly in my mind, that photograph. The roller coaster had magically transformed us into toddlers. But the real Vegas roller coaster was this elevator ride that I took without Crystal. About 30 stories from the casino floor to the suites, with this short, squat, bespectacled number cruncher and an African Amazon escort who towered at least 3 heads above it. From my median height vantage point, I would happily have paid half her fee just for the privilege of craning my neck back and forth diagonally as these two ascended in the elevator together in awkward silence. I did not want to watch the actual transaction, just to gawk slack-jawed at this unmatched pair on the elevator. Staring, of course, would have been really rude. But luckily, the elevator compartment was all mirrors. So in a flashing glance this way and that, I got to witness this couple from numerous angles. I know what you're thinking. This story is being told by the wrong guy from that elevator. His story would top the bestseller lists, kind of a modern-day Jack and the Beanstalk. But here, he's only a cameo in some other guy's random recollections. I hope his memories of that night are happier than mine. That night was a dismal nightmare for me. Earlier in the evening, while brushing our teeth, Crystal and I calculated her losses, and she realized that among her losses that day, she had lost her cousin Ted. He was supposed to go to bed when we did, So I dressed again, and I rode the elevator down to the casino floor from the hotel room. There he was at a blackjack table, hypnotized by a creeping swarm of vampires. They were just bleeding him dry. I took his arm. He was pale and weightless, like a balloon on a string. His eyes couldn't see. His mouth couldn't talk. I brought him up on the elevator to his hotel suite. He floated in like a ghost, and I waited to hear the door lock behind him. Then, getting into bed, I had the chilling realization that there was no lock outside his door. So I got dressed again. When the elevator opened on the casino floor, I marched quickly and directly back to that blackjack table. There he was, bloodlessly muttering, surrounded. I reached for his arm again, but a thorny thicket of bony human limbs closed in around him, and I couldn't reach. I said a moment ago that my 15 cents made me invisible to the vampires, but my protective gesture toward this humanoid sack of liquid capital made me flash on their infrared radar. They slithered and hissed at me, their serpentine glares trying to turn me to stone. I tried to make eye contact with Ted, but he didn't have a face anymore. He had transformed into some kind of blood orange tree, rooted to the ground. My only option would have been a fire extinguisher to clear a path, knock him unconscious, and carry him back. But the vampires would have clawed me to shreds before security could come to my rescue. And then I think security would have removed me from the floor. So I had to leave him there, bleeding. He bled $200,000 that night. On the elevator up, I got to ride with the dwarf and the giant. So I guess Ted's exsanguination was not a total loss. I got this mental snapshot puzzle as a souvenir. That's not the scariest thing that happened in Vegas. There's that famous dancing jet stream fountain that they always put in Las Vegas scenes, usually with a little less conversation or some other theme music playing. When I was there, it played Celine Dion and Elton John torch songs. I was 8 feet away from it during one of the most frightening events of my life. They brought us menus at a restaurant. I've always been terrified of restaurant menus. I had a very painful childhood experience when my grandparents took us to a fancy place once in Queens, and I had picked out this roast chicken dish off the menu. But then when the waiter came and asked me what I wanted, I had this horrific realization that he had a reason to be there in the restaurant, and I did not. He was there to work. I was just there to eat. He would end up with a pocket full of money. I would end up sitting on a potty sometime later. And this was such a shock to my young mind, I must have been 8 or 9, that I froze. And when he asked again what I wanted, I heard my own tiny, horrified voice squeak out one of the first words from my early childhood: hamburger. When the waiter left, my parents scolded me that it was rude to order a hamburger at a fancy restaurant. I didn't even want a hamburger. And then I had to eat it in burning shame, having apparently offended everyone. And I've hated restaurants and menus ever since. All these years later, I go into a restaurant, I have to read the entire menu, cover to cover, sometimes twice, write down my order on a napkin, and then show it when the server asks. Back to Las Vegas. One of those nights, the 20-somethings of the wedding party decided to ditch the parents for a dinner on the Strip. I should have stayed behind, because I've always liked eating with Crystal's parents. They gave me the magical power of invisibility. But I went along and everything was booked, and at last someone said they'd found a place with an open table large enough to accommodate us. This, again, should have sounded an alert. Why was a table of this size available? What was it about this place that scares diners away? It was the menu, the shortest menu I've ever seen. Column A was one dinner, column B was the other, and at the bottom of the page, 100, 110. Not even a dollar sign, and no decimal place for pennies. That was a week of work for me. The 15% tip was more than I could have afforded to pay for dinner that night. So I said I wasn't hungry and embarrassed everyone and burned with shame and was actually very hungry, which added to the gnawing, gut-crunching pain of the event. I was afraid to even eat a breadstick off the table in case that could somehow enroll me in an equally divided check. And my poverty loomed over other people's dinners, while my eyes, sinking into my emaciated skull, darted around to dodge contact, not wanting to spoil anyone's appetite. But now I can give some of the happiest news of this whole story. That evening lasted 10,000 years, but apparently not all of eternity, because I can tap on this wooden podium right now and know that I'm not still at that table. Or maybe I am, in the sense that some part of me never left it. After Crystal and I broke up, I called her parents. I said, "We've known each other 6 years. If there's anything unpleasant you've wanted to say but haven't, I think you deserve this chance." Her mother was tremendously relieved to say goodbye, once and for all, and immediately got off the line. Her father, the doctor, said something I'll never forget. He said, "When we were in Vegas, I saw you step out of an elevator in a suit, and for the first time, I thought, yes, this guy has some potential for quality." And he continued, "But then I found out it was Ted's suit that you'd borrowed because you forgot to pack your formal clothes. It was borrowed finery," he said. Borrowed finery. Well, I thanked him for everything, and we said goodbye forever. It was true. I had accidentally left my suit at home, by which I mean the tattered black sport coat that my dad had bought 20 years earlier from the back of a van in Newark. 6 months after this phone call, I got married in that sport coat. But I'll never forget this conversation because of the doctor's remarkable candor. I didn't think anybody actually said the words borrowed finery, or that if they did, millionaires only said it among their own kind. But he said it to me, and for having heard that expression uttered only once in my lifetime, I am eternally grateful. So I've got to thank the doctor for that too. Here's the thing I can't figure out. Having passed by hundreds of slot machines, I really did return to Milwaukee with the exact same nickel and the exact same dime that I had on the plane to Las Vegas. I know it because I can clearly recall the jingle in the airport security bowl for both flights. So how is it possible that I still feel like I lost something in Las Vegas, something I can never get back? I don't know. But I do know that sometime soon I'll end up pulling out a comedy movie that takes place there so I can stare in confusion at that strip again. Well, I'm happy to announce that I will be back in just a few weeks, second week in September, and that my next sermon is going to be a real sermon. I'm gonna do another one on the theme of animals in world mythologies, so I'm really excited about it. Do we have any other announcements today? All right.
I just wanted to say, I think next week is Patty. Do you know Patty's presenting about her Hawaiian trip, right? Okay. And then I think September 3rd, Nan is doing the ice cream social. And then we'll start our regular services with John. And just a reminder, we have Topps cards for sale.
All right. All right, here's the joke I was going to tell at the start of the service. So a guy was walking through the park, and a homeless man came up to him, filthy and smelly, and said, "Hey man, have you got $1?" The guy said, "You're just gonna spend it on alcohol." The man said, "No, I don't drink." The guy said, "Yeah, then you're just gonna spend it all on tobacco and marijuana." The guy said, "No, I don't smoke." The man said, "Yeah, you're just gonna gamble it away." The guy said, "No, I don't gamble." The man said, "You know what? I'll do better than give you $1. I want you to come home with me and join me for dinner. My wife is making a home-cooked meal. I would like for you to be our guest." The guy said, "Oh, well, can I clean myself up first?" The guy said, "Oh, no, no, no. I want you to come just the way you are, because I want my wife to meet this perfect man who does not drink, smoke, or gamble." All right, okay. Please join me for the words of the chalice extinguishing. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.